friends, welcome back to this week's episode of This is the Pod. I'm Jay.
And I'm Sam.
Hi.
It's Tyler. He's back again this week.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm totally not being held here against my will.
We all had so much fun last week, we decided to bring him back as the third host.
Am I getting paid?
None of us are getting paid.
Oh.
Okay, so, this week's episode, The Gunslinger. This was the one where they go back to Tatooine.
Again. I say again because, like, we've seen Tatooine so much throughout the Star Wars universe. I don't think there's a single series that we haven't seen Tatooine appear in.
But you be honest, your heart glimmered a little when you saw him driving past, like, the same ridge that Obi-Wan and Luke stood on.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Docking Bay 26.
For sure. But, you know, me personally, I'd like to see some new planets. That's just me.
We have Jakku. It's completely different.
Jakku, which is completely different and totally not just another desert planet.
Or what is it? Was it in Tross? Panara?
Panera?
Not Panera. Not the bread store. The desert planet.
Oh, in the Rise of Skywalker? Yeah, another desert planet.
Another desert planet. I completely forgot about that.
Is it Panera? It's not Pantor? No,
it doesn't matter. It's a terrible movie.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it's another desert planet. There's Navarro. That's basically a desert planet with volcanoes. There's a lot of desert planets. It's part of the appeal of Star Wars.
Technically, Hoth is a desert.
Well, yes, because
that's low precipitation. It's like George Lucas based Tatooine and so much of Star Wars on Dune and Arrakis. So it's like, before there was Star Wars, there was desert planets. You can't escape it. And so, some people would say that this episode is a bit gratuitous in its fan service, which you could argue, but I feel like, again, it does a good job of fleshing out how different the Star Wars universe is.
Yeah, because, you know, when he comes down to Tatooine, the first thing that you probably notice is just how quiet it is. There's no one, it's not a bustling town like the city that it comes down to. What is it? Is it Mos Eisley?
It's Mos Eisley,
it is Mos Eisley. When you compare the Mos Eisley that we see in The Mandalorian to the Mos Eisley that we see in A New Hope, it's completely different.
There's no modal nodes.
There's no one, you know?
Yeah, there's like, Woohor's gone. What happened to Woohor the bartender?
And like, you know, that makes you think, was like, the Imperial presence on Tatooine, was that what was keeping it alive, you know? Did that...
Maybe it's... Alright, so it could be two things, maybe. Maybe the Imperial presence kept it safer, but the more likely one, I think, is that people went to Tatooine to hide from the Empire. And now that the Empire's gone, they can leave.
They don't need to hide anymore.
Why would you choose to live on Tatooine?
That's a good point. I also feel like it has something to do with, like, Jabba the Hutt's death. Is like,
right, so there's no crime.
Like, no crime syndicate. We know that the Bounty Hunting Guild no longer operates on Tatooine.
And Tatooine really fell from grace.
Which is saying something.
Yeah, right?
Imagine looking at the Tatooine we see in New Hope and be like, boy, I wish we could go back to that. But so, Mandalorian gets some ship damage, and he has to go to Tatooine, and he decides that the best course of action... You know how all those times when your car breaks down, so you take it to the mechanic, and you decide to just leave your kid in the car with the mechanic?
Sure.
Luckily, it's found by that nice, like, mechanic.
The lady,
with the pit droids.
Yeah.
It's fun to see pit droids again.
Mm-hmm.
So Mandalorian goes to the Mos Eisley Cantina, looking for some work, gotta pay the bills, where he meets EV-99, who is funnily enough, the torture droid from Jabba the Hutt's palace. So it looks like he found work after Jabba's death. And do you know who voices EV-99?
How does he torture droids?
He was the droid in Jabba's palace in the torture chamber.
But I'm just saying, like, how does putting hot things on a gonk droid make it hurt?
Well, I don't know. There's also there's the medical droid that was chained up to the thing. It would have its limbs pulled.
What kind of sadistic droid programmer is going to program these droids to feel pain? It's like, we don't talk enough about, like, droid sentience in Star Wars.
I mean,
they talk about it a lot in Legends, and a lot of people hate droids.
we kind of touch upon it in Solo with LV, and like droid rights and
droid
stuff.
consciousness and everything.
And it's like,
you know?
but it's something that's rarely explored in like the big stuff.
They definitely are people. A lot of them, at least. You know, different levels of sentience. But you know, if they have relationships and fear death, then yeah, they're alive.
Oh. Well, C-3PO was always fearing death, so he was the most alive droid of all.
Right.
God, I hate him.
What are we but squishy robots?
Oh god. But so, you know who voices that droid and the bartender? Take a guess.
I don't know.
It's Mark Hamill.
You see, that was going to be my first guess, but like that seemed too obvious.
Just guess next time. We also see another character who Tyler alluded to last episode in this bar. We see R5D4. Is it R5D4?
Wait, R5's in the...
Yeah.
I did not notice that. What?
We see him scooting around the counter. The droid with
blown
the bad motivator. So
motivator.
This like Tyler was saying last week, this might be one of my favorite like obscure Star Wars characters because in Legends, he was Skippy the Jedi droid. He had midichlorians in his like droid fluid, and so he was a force sensitive droid who had a vision of the future, of how important R2-D2 would be to that future, and so he sacrificed himself to ensure that Luke found R2 and the whole saga went the way it's supposed to. That is no longer canon.
Why?
Some things are best left in the past.
What are you talking about?
But Skippy the Jedi droid does get his own new backstory in Star Wars from a certain point of view, that book they released a couple of years ago, where it's like anthologies. It's Star Wars, but told from all the side characters, like that Imperial officer who didn't shoot down the escape pod, like the Jawa who sells them. And so in that story, we learn that R2 actually tried to sabotage R5. To be
Honestly, that's just like R2. We saw what he did to Goldie in the Clone Wars episode.
It's like, oh, R2, you lovable scamp. You lovable murderous robot.
Let's not gloss over the fact that R2 is probably a mass murderer. Along with
R2 has like a huge body count. not only count let alone like episode 8 where he takes over the AT-ST, but he's an accomplice to destroying
the Jedi,
the Death Star, the Jedi.
The Separatist Council.
It can't be any worse than Chopper, though.
R2 is technically an accomplice to Anakin's war crimes.
But like, I don't think it can be any worse than Chopper. Let's not forget that one episode of Rebels where they're on the interdictor cruiser,
right?
And they're going through Ezra and them, and they're stunning the stormtroopers and all of the Imperials. They're not killing them because obviously they want to keep them alive. But then when they get off, it's Chopper that sabotages the interdictor and causes it to blow up, killing probably thousands of innocents. Just people just doing their jobs. And Chopper's like, "Yeah, that was me. I did that."
So Chopper and R2 both have some blood on their hands. But so, do you think one of the great missed opportunities I think that Star Wars hasn't explored is Darth Vader learning that like C-3PO and R2 are a part of it? It's like Darth Vader learns about like the droid who like kept the Death Star plans and evaded him and helped blow up the Death Star. And he's like, he hears this R2 and he's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's my boy. I feel bad for shooting him in the head in the trench run now. But so back to R5D4.
Doesn't Vader run into C-3PO in like a comic or something?
Yeah, there's a comic where he finds his pieces on Cloud City,
and he has a moment. He has a moment. An Anakin moment. But then he's quickly back to Darth Vader.
I assume it's one of those moments where it's like, oh, I used to be Anakin Skywalker. Fucking hate
but
that
he's
guy.
dead.
Anakin Skywalker is dead. And, like, punches a wall or something. God, I hated being Jake Lloyd. No offense to Jake Lloyd. I hope he's doing okay.
He's not. He's terrible. Thanks, Jay. Thanks.
Well, I know he's been through a lot. I know he's done some...
People like you that did that to him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the poor guy. You know, he's
He was
actually
he was just a kid.
he's actually schizophrenic now, and like checked in.
And it's your fault. It's all your fault.
Why is it my fault?
That thing you just said. Right
Yeah,
now,
maybe let's like move past this. It's kind of depressing.
Let's go back to R5D4. The point of this whole tangent. It's like, so in a certain point of view, which is a canon novel, we learn that he like R2 and R5 have this chat where R2 talks about the importance of his mission. So R5 makes the choice to blow his own motivator, which isn't like a terrible thing if you do it yourself, apparently. Or like he pretends to do it.
How important is a motivator?
I don't know.
Pretty important.
Is that like conscious motivation, or is it like
if a droid blows its motivator, then it won't have any motivation to do any of its programs.
Oh God, is that what happened to Padme?
Oh God,
she lost the will to live because she had a bad motivator.
She had a blown motivator. I'm sorry, Anakin, but it seems your wife had a blown motivator and gave up on life.
Would you like this alternate model?
Would you like the blue one instead?
I mean, I don't know. Padme's guards were all her body doubles. You know, they weren't too bad. Basically the same person.
There's a comic about that in Vader.
Where a new comic.
Vader's like, it's after the events of Empire Strikes Back. Vader's trying to he's really reeling from the fact that he has a kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, what exactly happened while I was on Mustafar? Those couple days, those were a wild couple of days. I should really try and figure out what happened. So he starts investigating, and he runs into Padme. What? Padme's still alive? It's Sabe. It's her body double, and he meets the rest of the body doubles, and he has flashbacks to Return to Attack of the Clones.
They even actually work together for a short time.
They do, yeah. And so it's just another thing that's interesting that they explore that in the comics. So back to the motivator.
I remember when we were talking about the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
right.
It's nice to see R5D4 in the cantina. That story, from a certain point of view, ends with him heading towards Mos Eisley to find purpose, and I'm glad he's found it in the Mos Eisley cantina. But who else does he run in? Who else does the Mandalorian run into in the Mos Eisley cantina?
I don't know what his name is. Yeah, the Han Solo knockoff.
Exactly, it's not Han Solo.
Oh, right, that guy.
Toro Calican. the not Han Soloist of all Han Solos.
Toro, not Han Solo.
He's like, who's the guy that played Han Solo in Solo?
Alden Ehrenreich.
All right,
yeah.
He's like the Alden. He's like that guy. He's like that guy. This guy is to him as he is to Han Solo.
Alden Ehrenreich wasn't that bad in Solo.
I thought Solo was
Solo's a good movie.
That movie is complete blank.
We're getting.
I just know that Darth Maul was at the end of it.
We're going to talk about Solo in episode because I really enjoy that one. But so back to not Han Solo, he even has a blaster that it looks like a DL-44, but it looks like it's almost made of wood. It's such a simple shape with a barrel and a scope on it. It looks like if you went to the Halloween store and it was just generic space ray gun.
Do you think Han Solo is a big name smuggler? Smugglers wish they could be like Han Solo. So you think he's just copying his look?
See, I don't know. There's a Game of Thrones quote. I don't know if either of you watched Game of Thrones, but the one character, Davos talks about he was a pirate or a smuggler, and he's like, what's the difference between a pirate and a smuggler? Or it's are you a famous smuggler? It's if you're a famous smuggler, you're not doing it right. So it's probably Han Solo is probably more known for being the rebel hero.
Right. Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
He's got the vest. He's got these weird almost bell-bottom pants. They're not bell-bottoms, but the cuff of his pants.
What are they called? What are those? Corellian blood stripes?
That's Han Solo's pants, but the way that the cuffs on Toro Calican's pants look, he almost looks like a cartoon character. It looks like how you would draw the legs and boot on a cartoon character. It has all kind of one piece and stuff. And so they get a couple of swoop bikes, and they're going after what's her name?
She's an assassin.
The assassin.
I don't remember her name.
I forget what her name is, but she's played by actress Ming-Na Wen, who I don't know if you guys watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but she is a huge character on that show. She's she's the second lead character, and she's known as the Cavalry. And so, like, that fight scene later when her and Calicanth are fighting, and she's, like, doing, like, spin kicks and stuff, it's like, that actress is really good at doing that because she's been doing it for 7 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But, fun fact, also the voice of Mulan in the 1990s movie.
Oh.
The animated one.
The good one.
The good one.
The good one, right?
So Ming-Na Wen holds like the Disney triple hat trick where she was a Disney princess, a Star Wars character, and a Marvel character. So that's a fun fact. But she's really good at shooting people.
Yeah.
we see the Mandalorian get shot like 4 or 5 times. Thank God he's wearing Beskar.
Now, does he mention in this episode, like, it has a threshold for how much it can take, or...
I don't know.
It makes you really think, maybe the Mandalorians weren't all that good of warriors, and they just had all that armor. It just gave them the illusion that they were these super strong and powerful.
I don't know how much of Beskar's, like, Legends attributes it's kept in the canon, because I know in Legends, it's, like, one of the most lightsaber-proof materials.
Yeah, it's like damn near indestructible.
It's like a lightsaber will bounce off Beskar if it hits it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much of that is still in canon.
All right, I know we talked about this earlier, not on the podcast, but is Mandalorian steel the same as Beskar?
No, I don't believe so. I don't even think Mandalorian Durasteel exists in the canon.
I think
I don't think it exists in canon.
I think Durasteel has been mentioned a couple times, like in canon novels.
Well, I mean, everything's made of Durasteel.
Well, yeah, except the windows,
which are transparent steel.
Transparent steel. Oh, I love Star Wars naming conventions. This should be the Star Wars naming conventions podcast. But so they're going after her. Tor Malacanth is like this bounty hunting guild member who's in way over his head. It would be the equivalent of... Who would it be like going after in real life if you were a bounty hunter? Like, who's like a very dangerous person?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves.
It's like if... who's a really bad bounty hunter? It's like if Dog went after... damn it, I had someone in mind. Never mind, forget the joke, it's fine.
It would be like, I like the illusion, it'd be like if one of us went after Keanu Reeves, the actor. who knows Kung Fu.
Yeah, he'll probably kick our ass.
But, so, they're going after her, but she has the advantage. What does she have?
The high ground.
She has the high ground, which I don't know. I don't know if that's like a reference to Revenge of the Sith. It's just a tactical thing.
Any reference to the high ground is a reference to the Revenge of the Sith. Jesus Christ, to Revenge of the Sith.
The Battle of Gettysburg, a reference.
Oh no.
The Union Army had the high ground. They knew what was up before we even knew.
Oh God.
George Lucas was actually at the Battle of Gettysburg when it happened.
No offense to George Lucas, we love you. But so, eventually they catch her. The Mandalorian decides to wander off to get a do-back, where she's playing mind games with Tor Malacanth. He ends up shooting her. Mando ends up shooting him. It's a whole big thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot him until like they get back to Mos Eisley.
Yeah. He's trying to go after the kid because he thinks that like having the Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian, who's a traitor to the Bounty Guild, will be his ticket in, and he's all about reputation and this and that. And...
you would think people would learn if all those other bounty hunters tried and failed at capturing the Mandalorian. What makes you think that you're gonna have a better chance?
I mean, okay, if you wanted to take down the Mandalorian, you had your chance when you were lying on the sand because he had, you were next to him, and that was like one of the rare opportunities he had to like slide your blaster up,
just like lift up his helmet real quick and shoot him.
Tor Malacanth must have missed that week's like bounty hunter newsletter where it's like, "Hey, if you see the Mandalorian, he betrayed us."
What are you supposed to do against him? If he's like, I don't know,
you could choke him.
I guess.
If he had like garrote wire,
maybe he's into that.
Oh no! I don't want to think about that part of Star Wars. But so he ends up going off world again.
Yep.
The pit droids drag Tor Malakant's body to Beggar's Canyon. But then, this episode ends on a stinger, where we see the assassin's body, and we see, it's like a shot from like the knee down of a person in a cape and boots approaching them, and there's some different theories about who that is. It's like, there's theories like, what if it's Moff Gideon?
I don't
What
think
if
it's Moff Gideon.
I think it's Boba Fett.
Does Moff Gideon have a cape?
He does,
He does, yeah.
Alright, but Boba Fett's cape isn't that long.
It's
He
like
could've-
a shoulder cape.
He could have gotten a new cape.
It only goes down to like maybe the
The-
middle of his thigh.
The reason I think it's Boba Fett, though, is because if you listen very closely, and I have done this more times than any person should, I have gone and listened with headphones and the audio all the way up and probably permanently damaged my hearing, but you can hear spurs. You can hear this jingling sort of sound, and when Boba Fett was first introduced in The Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas and the director specifically wanted the character to have spur sound effects to evoke Western imagery. They wanted Boba Fett to be like the gunslinger type character. And so they inserted the artificial sound of spurs.
Yeah, but Boba Fett, he was excluded from accelerated aging, right?
Right, he was
Yeah.
an unaltered clone.
So how old would he be at this point?
So he was born...
I don't know what year the Clone Wars takes place, or the Attack of the Clones.
Let's do some math here. So,
Th-
Empire...
This is 25 ABY. How many?
Mandalorian?
How many? No. How many years? When was the second Death Star blown up?
That would have been... Because it's 3 years between New Hope and Empire, and then a year and a half between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So it's like the battle of Endor takes place like roughly 5 ABY. I think so.
I'm honestly not sure on dates
Oh,
here.
But so Revenge of the Sith is 20 BBY. Clone Wars is... Attack of the Clones is 3 years before that.
Attack of the Clones is 22 BBY.
22 BBY. So how old was
So
Boba Fett?
Empire Strikes Back is 3 ABY.
How old was Daniel Logan in Attack of the Clones? Because Daniel Logan's the actor that plays young Boba Fett. Let's do some math here.
I'm just gonna throw out a random guess and say he's got to be at least 50.
I'm invested too much in this. So
31. I mean, no. 31 years plus whatever age he is in Attack of the Clones.
well, Daniel Logan is 33 years old now. And when did Attack of the Clones come out?
2003?
2002.
2002.
So that was 18 years ago. 33 minus 18.
Quick maths.
Quick maths. I'm not good at quick maths.
Neither am I.
None of us are math majors. This is really embarrassing. But so, 15. So was he 15 in Attack of the Clones?
He didn't
He
look
doesn't
15.
look 15 in Attack. He looks maybe 12.
Yeah,
or
let's just
13.
assume he's 12.
Yeah.
So where does that get us for now?
Plus, like, 33 years.
So
He's in his 40s.
His
yeah,
40s.
late
So, yeah.
40s.
So yeah, that's feasible.
Yeah.
It
I've
doesn't,
seen some pretty built 40-year-olds.
but like, it doesn't necessarily make sense if they're bringing Tamara Morrison back. Like, because Tamara Morrison isn't in his 40s.
They
He's
can de-age him.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it's not like the
I-
technology doesn't exist.
That's a good point. I forgot about Disney's limitless de-aging technology.
I mean, they de-aged Starkin pretty well.
and
Oh,
to
God.
be fair, Tamora Morrison in Aquaman, he doesn't look much older.
He doesn't look bad at all. De-aging Grand Moff Tarkin. If they can bring Peter Cushing back from the dead, they can find a way to make the timeline work with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But so yeah, because of the specificity of the spur sound effect, and the fact that it's on Tatooine, I'm convinced it's Boba Fett.
Maybe someone took his boots.
And we already
Well,
know
that's-
that he's confirmed for the second season.
Yeah,
so.
because of a discrepancy on not discrepancy, but a stake on Tamara Morrison's acting agency. It lists one of his credits as The Mandalorian season 2. So at this point, it's less theory and more of when's he going to show up.
Yep.
People really didn't want him to show up, though.
They didn't.
For the first season, you know.
Well,
at least
I
it's-
understand that because
Yeah.
by the end of the first season, you're definitely on the Mandalorian side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Star Wars Explained has talked about is like a Boba Fett versus Din Djarin could explore like the theme of what it means to be a Mandalorian, because I think George Lucas has gone back and forth a couple times about whether or not Jango Fett and Boba are actually Mandalorians.
And George has said before that they're not true Mandalorians, but
Right,
in
like,
Legends they were.
What
In
is
Legends, they
what
were.
is a Mandalorian? Mandalore is not a race; it is a creed. And so, like, the show can kind of take that idea and explore that further about what does it mean to be a Mandalorian? Is it just a person in cool armor with a jetpack who shoots guns, or is it someone who stands up for the right thing?
Mandalore is like okay, right? The Empire didn't destroy it or anything, did they?
I
We
don't
don't
think they
know.
destroy. I don't think they would have destroyed it.
Mandalore hasn't been okay for a long time. the surface of the planet, it's basically a desert because of that's why they live in like the big glass cities, is because centuries of warfare.
Mandalorian.
Up until Rebels, I thought that like if you walked on the surface, you would just like die.
I mean, I assume it's more like how deserts are
I
here.
don't remember.
Like,
I thought it was like literally uninhabitable. Like if you walked on the surface of the planet, you would like.
You're not thinking of like Concord Dawn?
No. Like in Rebels, they actually they're on Mandalore. You know, like outside of the domes. Yeah, in Rebels, there's the episode in the last season when they're on Mandalore and they're assaulting the Imperial
right.
outpost.
Isn't like
Right.
Pre Vizsla's camp out like in
No, that's on a moon of Mandalore.
Oh, okay.
so many moons.
Yeah. Concord Dawn was that other planet though that had a hole blown through it.
But that had a lot of
You know?
that was it caused by the Mandalorian?
Yeah, that was caused by Mandalorians.
What did they do?
I don't know. How do you blow a hole through a planet without a Death Star?
like
you know,
They wave away a lot of this, like, oh, like centuries of
It was a
warfare.
mining explosion, just like Jeddah.
Just a mining explosion.
Wasn't
Alright.
Alderaan a mining explosion too?
No, Alderaan.
That's a big ass mining explosion.
Look what it did to Concord Dawn.
Alderaan was definitely sending a message.
Yeah,
They tried to
Empire,
hide it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I feel like the Empire they would be very clear about,
'Cause
crushing
no,
dissidents.
they definitely denied that they blew up Alderaan.
Was that? I don't know.
No, they denied that they blew
maybe,
up Jeddah.
Maybe it was after the Death Star got blown up, but they never like they were sending a message to the rebels. They weren't sending a message to like the galaxy at large.
But I thought it was
that's what
common
it's-
knowledge.
that's what
you
it's
know?
supposed
no,
to-
it was.
That's what it's supposed. The Death Star is supposed to be, if like an intimidator thing.
Yeah.
It's like
I think the first like intentional public use of it was going to be Chandrilla, which is the homeworld of Mon Mothma.
oh,
But Alderaan was always put off as like an accident.
that's very suspect, Empire.
Hmm.
But it's like, like Moff Tarkin even says like, oh, this is with the construction of the Death Star, the Empire can dissolve the Imperial Senate. Fear will keep the remaining systems intact. So I always assumed that Alderaan was like, hey, this is what will happen
Yeah,
to you
I
if
thought
you
they
don't
were-
stand in line.
I thought they were
That
pretty
was-
open
that
about
was-
it.
That was definitely their like intention for it, but at least I'm fairly certain that the Empire denied that they blew up Alderaan.
Maybe they didn't deny it, and they were just like, "Oh, we don't know." Like you know, they
It's
they
like-
did it as a kind of thing to be like to scare people. You know, we don't know if the Empire
it was-
actually has this power.
It was sort
But-
of like offhanded. Like Tarkin was just sort of like, "Yeah, blow it up."
Yeah, it's very cavalier.
Did the Emperor approve that?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
Maybe
Tarkin just kind of did what he wanted.
he was in charge of the Death Star as a whole, so I don't think the Emperor really had a say in that. Well, I guess he would because he's the Emperor. But I mean, like you know, I just don't think that he would have had to answer to him.
But yeah, I knew Jeddah was played off as a mining accident.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that was also the case with all.
Maybe it was like, or I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting this confused with like Dragon Ball, because Frieza claimed it was an asteroid that hit planet Vegeta and blew it up. Maybe that's what happened to Alderaan too.
Or maybe the leaders of Alderaan didn't listen to their top scientist when he warned them that they were overexploiting the planet's resources. Luckily, that top scientist put his kid in a rocket and sent it off-world.
Superman?
Yes, that was the joke, Sam. Thanks.
Wait, is that what happened to that planet? I thought it was like they got sucked into a black hole or something. Maybe I'm thinking of Megamind.
No, that is Megamind.
Megamind.
In Megamind.
We're getting way off topic.
Megamind and Metroman's planets are both sucked into a black hole. But Krypton just explodes.
Yeah.
From too much mining, I guess. Or climate change.
The planet collapses in on itself.
It's a metaphor for climate change.
Yep.
They also did that in a Rick and Morty show, Rick and Morty episode, I think.
Okay.
It was about Pluto.
Aw.
And they were like draining its resources, so it kept getting smaller, and that's why it wasn't a planet anymore.
I feel like a defining part of our generation was learning that Pluto wasn't a planet anymore.
Yeah, when I found out Pluto wasn't a planet, I was devastated.
There was definitely a part of me as a kid that thought that NASA was going to destroy it or something.
Is there really any way that we normal people would be able to tell?
That's a great point.
If they just
You just look in a telescope, you look up at the sky one day, and it's like, Pluto's not there anymore.
There's definitely there's definitely a niche group of people who Star Watch and stuff who would notice Pluto's gone, but who would believe them?
Wait, guys, Pluto's gone. I
mean, as soon as, once that, what was it, the Voyager, the satellite that went out? Yeah, once that passed by, when's the next time I'm going to send a satellite to Pluto?
Very true. It takes God knows how many years to get there. It's
I think it was 14 maybe.
I'm not sure exactly the validity of this, but I remember seeing one time that if you unfolded Pluto, the surface area of it, you could coat most of Pluto with the surface area of Russia. I'm not sure exactly how valid that is. That almost seems too small. But at the same time, yeah, I believe it.
So is Russia almost big enough to be a planetoid?
No, that's not. It's surface area, not. God, this is.
Why don't we take the Russians and put them on Pluto?
This is why we're a Star Wars podcast
and not an actual astronomy podcast. Apologies to.
Yeah, let's go back to Star Wars where planets make sense.
Yeah. Apologies to all the astronomy fans out there who like the astronomy aspect of Star Wars that we're just absolutely butchering right now. It's
what were we the episode, right?
Yeah, Mandalorian, Tatooine, 2 suns, better than 1.
Yeah.
Does it have a moon? Do we ever see Tatooine at night? Well, we see it in Rebels, but
yeah, and when he's Anakin's hunting Tusken Raiders.
Maybe it has 16 moons. Who knows?
Jupiter.
Huh?
Jupiter's got a lot of moons.
Yeah, but Jupiter's not a Ueen.
That's true.
Doesn't count, and it's also not in Star Wars.
That's also.
Well, maybe it is.
We don't know that.
Maybe
for
it's
sure.
in a galaxy far, far away.
Maybe.
Han Solo one day crash lands on Earth and meets up with Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And Chewie ends up being
Sasquatch.
mistaken, for Bigfoot.
True story. I saw it.
Oh, but I thought that Indiana Jones was just what Han Solo dreamt about while he was frozen in carbonite.
It's all a fever dream. That's how they connect. That
somehow makes less sense than if Han Solo crashed on Earth and became an Indiana Jones fan. The fact that if Indiana Jones were a dream of Han Solo's, that makes infinitely less sense. All right, so I feel like that's all the Easter eggs, that's all the references. Time for everyone's favorite part of the week. Jay does a bad Star Wars impression. Who will it be this time, boys?
All right, so it wasn't Bib Fortuna last time. Who's a really terrible person in Star Wars? We're talking slavers,
it's not,
pimps,
it's not
maybe mass genocide. Who are we talking here?
So the reason I refuse to do an impression of this character is my own reasons, which will also remain a mystery.
Who does he not like?
I don't. I feel like I should know, but I don't.
His least favorite. Who does he complain about the most?
We've only been friends.
Oh, C-3PO.
It's not C-3PO. I hate C-3PO for other reasons, but I will gladly do an impression of C-3PO.
I don't think you... Well, no, you do hate C-3PO, but
it's
Anthony Daniels also has a toxic personality.
That is definitely a big part of it. A lot of my hatred towards C-3PO as a character comes from, the pompousness of Anthony Daniels as an actor, and to some of the stuff that he's done over the years in relation to Kenny Baker and stuff. It's just... But yeah. C-3PO is he's a less useful form of Google Translate. It's if Google Translate were a person that was also incredibly high maintenance and kept you from running. Because, like, you can't run if you have C-3PO. You gotta, like, drag him along. C-3PO can't run. He can...
What's the point of forcing them to walk?
I don't know. It's protocol droids. But so... Alright, let me get into the C-3PO zone. Just gotta get really, really anxious.
Do a wheat woo.
What?
Do a wheat woo. You gotta be R2.
Oh. Beep the wheat.
Did you hear that? Surely there'll be no escape for the princess this time.
What did you call me, R2?
That actually wasn't that bad.
I don't care. I'm going this way. Oh,
you can't see it, but he's doing the hand motion.
yeah, I am keeping my elbows at like a 45-degree angle as C-3PO does, but you can't. This is an audio medium, so. Thank the Maker.
You probably didn't notice my red arm.
You probably didn't recognize me because of my red arm.
Han Solo. It's me, C-3PO. You probably didn't recognize me because of the red arm.
You just sound like an Englishman.
It's like, that's all C-3PO. It's like,
you can't see it, but his eyes are actually glowing right now. It's a really good impression.
oh, I wish I could do like C-3PO when he's translating the Sith.
Oh.
And it's like, only this knife shows the way. Emperor's Wayfinder. It is bad. Exegol. Only this knife shows the way.
Do we see him translate for anybody other than Jabba in the movies?
No. He does it a couple times in Rebels, but
Did we see him speak other languages? What is
he speaks Huttese, I believe.
He speaks Huttese. He speaks binary.
Yeah.
It's like a second language to me.
Why does?
Or it's like
if Jabba can understand English,
we see him speaking like loose Ewok. Like he says,
oh yeah,
he says like he knows a rough translation of the Ewoks. Which 6 million forms of communication, and one of them is an Ewok. It's like, how often are you going to use the other like 5,999? 9,000. You get the idea. I missaid the number, but the point is made. But yeah, we see him like recounting the tale of Star Wars to the Ewoks, and he's making the sound effects and stuff.
Boom.
Yeah. It's like, oh dear, R2. Surely we are doomed this time.
wow.
All right, I feel like that's the best note we could possibly end on. So until next time, I'm Jay,
and this is the pod.